Welcome to this webinar. My name is Christine Röhl. I am a sales and service engineer at Goerg Schneider, and we would like to use this medium to give you some information about our bodies and to answer your questions. So you can use the chat after the speech, and my colleague Anna, she will collect all your questions, and afterwards I will try to answer them. So the issue of today is colored bodies. Now please change to the presentation. Colored bodies from Goerg Schneider. We have differences and similarities. In general, we have three different kinds of standard bodies: red bodies, black bodies, and all the other colors that we have. To the other colors, we have also a lot of white colors, which we will have in a separate speech because there are quite a lot of them. So we will concentrate on red, black, and other colors. If you compare these groups, the similarities, of course, are the colors if you compare the red ones. And if you go into detail, we have a different kind of different percentage of shamot. We have one body who is called 311, which is without shamot. Then we have a group of 25% of shamot and 40%. The higher the percentage of shamot is, the higher is the firing range of the body. So in general, you can fire these bodies between 1140 and 1220 degrees. All the red clays become more brownish if you fire them at a higher temperature, because the body gets vitrified, which means the water absorption gets lower and the body starts to sinter. The red body is red because it's a red natural clay which is used inside our body composition. There are no pigments inside and no other additives which could be responsible for the color. If you compare them with the black bodies, this is also the main difference, because in the section of the black bodies, we have two different kinds of black bodies. We have black bodies which are colored with oxides, mainly manganese and iron oxides. And we have bodies which are colored with pigments or body stains, which means it's a pigment which is separately produced and which will only give the color, but it will not react with the body itself. In this kind of bodies, black bodies, we use white body, which is colored with black pigments. The additives for the colors are oxides or pigments. If the additives are oxides, the color gets brownish black. It's a very warm color. If we add stains or pigments, the color is more cold, anthracite black. And then we have another group with all the other colors except the white ones. And these colors are salmon, lilac yellow, lilac in the at low temperature, yellow at a higher temperature, yellow, leather colored with spots or without, and the big group of the white bodies, which we have in a separate speech later on. So these are so many different colors that we will have different groups. All of them you can use for decorative elements, and you can use them also without glaze. Lilac yellow bodies can be used for high temperatures, up to 1300 degrees. So the red bodies, I already mentioned the 311, which is the only red body that we have, which is usable for throwing and has no shamot. The 354 you can use for throwing as well, for throwing on the wheel, of course. This one has a somewhat of 25% 0 to 0.2 millimeter, so it doesn't hurt if you use it on the wheel. 364 has 25% of somewhat 0 to 0.5 millimeter, and this grain size is already a little bit too big for throwing, which means you should use it for building up small pieces. If the pieces are a little bit higher or larger, you should use the 384 with 25% of somewhat 0 to 1 millimeter. The bodies 551, 552, 554, and 559 is more or less one family of bodies where the basic material is the same, and they all have 40% of somewhat inside the composition. The difference of these somewhat are the grain sizes, as you can see on this paper. So if you want to sort all these bodies, depending on the firing range, of course the one with 40% of somewhat can be fired at the highest temperature. 551 is one of our newest body, which we just have developed, because some people like to burn at high temperature, but they want to have a body for throwing. So this is possible because the grain size is only 0 to 0.2 millimeter. As if the concentration, in the composition of somewhat gets lower, the temperature gets lower as well. So 311 has no somewhat. This means you can fire this one up to 1140. For the black bodies, as I told before, we have sorted them by the kind of pigmentation. So you have colored bodies which are colored with oxides. They get brownish black. Depending on the quantity of somewhat, you can fire them up to 1240 or only up to 1120. And we have them with pigments. It's a white basic composition colored with black pigment, which means they do not react, the color doesn't react during the sintering range, which means you can burn them up to 1240. 371 and 373 are both colored with pigments. That's the reason why you can fire them till 1240. Another big group of colored materials that we sell have the color of salmon, yellow, lilac. The salmon bodies are bodies, a mixture out of white and red body. And if you color them, they get a very beautiful and nice terracotta style. So it's not necessary to decorate them with glaze. You can also use them without any glaze at all. They have different percentage of somewhat, and the 359 is because of the small grain size 0 to 0.2 possible to use on the wheel. The higher the firing temperature will get, the darker will be the color. The yellow bodies, we have different kind of yellow bodies. 395 is a beautiful one if you do not fire too high. So at about 1100 degrees, in our opinion, it is a beautiful, wonderful light yellow color. But you can heat it up till 1200 degrees. Body 933 is a more leather colored yellow body with spots. They have 20% of somewhat inside as well. 0 to 0.2 is good for throwing, is good for building up very small or small pieces. The same body we have without any spots. It's the new body 391. We have developed that one just in this year because we needed a yellow body without spots and small grain-sized chamot to go up to a temperature to 1240 degrees. And last but not least, we have the big group of lilac yellow bodies, which all are possible to fire at high temperatures, which have a beautiful color, so it's not necessary to decorate with glazes if you do not like it. You can use them for outside in the garden because they have a low water absorption at high temperature. And the color for all of them that are mentioned here are more or less the same. 591, if you want to find something for throwing, is very nice for throwing. And 596 has a very big chamot of 0 to 1.5 millimeter with 40%. So you can use that one, very good for gardening, sculptures and something like that, which has to be frost resistant because you can burn it at a very high temperature. Now we have 3 different types of application where you can use all these bodies. The first one is the table war. For table war, you usually throw or build up, perhaps, if you're very good in that. And you use a you want to use thin pieces, so you do not want to have a cup with 40% of chamot. So you need all the bodies with a low quantity of chamot and small, fine chamot, maximum 0 to 0.2 millimeters. And all these bodies which are mentioned here, can be used for table war. The special point you have to recognize is that you should use the dishwasher. It must be possible to use the dishwasher. So the water absorption of these bodies should be very low, should be 2% or lower than that. You can reach that by the burning temperature, or in this case, it is very interesting to use glazes. The second application is ceramics for gardening, for architectural ceramics. Garden ceramic should be dense. So in this case also, the burning temperature is very interesting and important to get a low water absorption, about 2 or lower than 2%. These bodies will stay outside in the rain, get frost, so they must be resistant to all the weather conditions we have in our area. The following bodies, 551, 552, 554, 584, 8251, 5292, and 596 are all possible to use. And you have to look at the temperature, and it is also very nice to glaze parts of it or even to use no glaze at all. It depends on the body and the combination of the bodies as well. So for decorative ceramics, you can use all of them. And the special effect that you can try, which is very nice, especially, for example, for the black body with big chamot, is to scratch the surface, to make a rough surface, that the white chamot comes out, and then you have white spots on the black basic body. So you can use that effect with all our bodies, or you use exactly the opposite to polish the surface so you do not see any chamot and the surface is very smooth. These are some examples of our customers, what they have done with our bodies. As you see, you can also have a combination of different bodies, like you see on the right side. We have a black body, a salmon body, and a red body, and they were all used in one piece. You should have a look at the drying shrinkage and the burning shrinkage so that this fits together. because otherwise perhaps you get some cracks, which could be also decorative, but not always. You want to have cracks, you want to have a very good surface, so you should have a look at the shrinkage. The red piece and the blue pieces that you see in the other pictures, these are colored white bodies, colored with pigments, which we do not sell, but you can do that by your own. And then you can combine that one, for example, with our black body 371. As you see, it's also a very decorative, beautiful way how you can use our bodies without any glaze. This is a comparison of all our red bodies, and as you see, the higher the temperature gets, the more brownish will be the red color. Your body 311, you can use till 1100, 1120, not higher than that, because it is without chamotte, and we need that for resistance during the firing. The other bodies, you can fire to 1200 degrees or even more than that. For the black bodies, you can see very well that we have different colors, more brownish black and a cold anthracite black. As I told you, this is depending on the way how we produce the color. So 371 and 373 are made with pigments, so you can burn it at high temperature without getting in trouble with bubbles or other mistakes that you can get with black bodies quite easily if they are made with oxide, because the firing range is small, so you have really to be careful that you do not fire them too high. And the comparison with other colored bodies, you can see beautiful colors with a little bit rosé, a little bit yellow. And the very special one is the 933, which has spots. And you can see in this sample very good that if you fire at 1200 degrees, the spots will come out. If you just fire at 1150, the spots are not visible at all. So if you use that body, please fire minimum 1200 degrees. And if you use a glaze for that body, the spots will come through the glaze. So this was my speech for today.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Until next time.